I'm going to open my program tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with a very exciting little composition by Khatchaturian. It's called the Sabre Dance. That's the cutest little song, that Glowworm. I'm glad they brought it back to popularity again. It's been around for a few generations, you know. And you know something else? I never knew what a glowworm was. I had to look it up in the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I discovered that a glowworm is the wingless female of the species that we commonly refer to as the firefly. Now, the glowworm, the female, she can't fly around, so she lies down on the ground, and she has a kind of a blinking system in her tail, see? And she blinks that on and off, and then the male flies around, and he's got wings, you see, and he's got a blinker too, and he sees her blinking at him, and so he swoops down and gets acquainted, you see? Now that's the story of the glowworm, and I'm going to do it both in its original form, and then we'll bring it up to date. happiest little number I know. In fact, I'm a kind of a happy guy, and I like that kind of music. This reminds me, ladies and gentlemen, of a time when I wasn't so happy. I was working for an employer in the East who couldn't pronounce my name, and it kind of annoyed me, especially when he kept referring to me all the time as La Cucaracha instead of Liberace. But now I can laugh about it and play La Cucaracha, first as the Latin number it is, and then with a little boogie beat added. I hope you like it. Now for something relaxing. I'm glad you're playing that music because it helps me to remember a few of the interesting facts about the composer of that music, Franz Schubert. It's hard to believe that a man who wrote such beautiful music never knew the enjoyment of the success his music should have brought him. But it wasn't until after he was gone that his songs became famous. During his lifetime, Schubert was so poverty-stricken that he barely had enough money to buy the manuscript on which to write these songs. Sometimes when he did write a song, he would sell them for as little as 20 cents a copy. Later they became world famous, such as this one melody that he sketched out on the back of a menu while seated in a restaurant. This song, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, is perhaps his most famous, the Schubert's Serenade. And now, here's a number by one of my very favorite Latin contemporary composers. His name is Ernesto Lecuona, and I don't know whether he knows it or not, but he did me a wonderful favor when he wrote his exciting Malaguena, because I loved playing it. Believe it or not, I get a lot of requests for that Chopsticks. And I was still thinking about Chopin, how Chopin might have played that number. My goodness, it's a good idea. Let me try it once. Chopin playing Chopsticks. One can almost tell the entire life story of Grieg using the titles of his famous songs and compositions. Edvard Grieg, Norway's greatest composer, dedicated his greatest composition to his greatest friend, Franz Liszt. And when Grieg's health began to fail, he retired to the mountains, where on one midsummer's eve he met a beautiful peasant girl named Nina, whom he fell in love with and later married. And on their wedding night, strange and beautiful music filled his heart, and one of the most beautiful love songs was created when he spoke these words to his bride: "I love thee, dear, now and forevermore." They lived happily among the peasant folks. They danced to the rollicking music of Freddie and his fiddle, and they told folk stories about the mythical giant Peer Gynt that lived in the mountains, and how he fell in love with the princess named Anitra. All of these delightful stories were set to music, and they tell the life so beautifully of Norway's greatest composer, Edvard Grieg. the last war, ladies and gentlemen, a very important military conference was held in North Africa. Present at this conference were all the chiefs of staffs of the various countries, among them Winston Churchill. After this meeting, a Nazi spy reported a man he believed to be Winston Churchill boarding a plane in Lisbon that was leaving for England. The result of this mistaken identity meant the defenseless plane was shot down by the Nazis and the loss of 14 civilian passengers' lives, among them the late Leslie Howard. As a tribute to this great English actor, I would like to recall a musical scene from one of his greatest motion pictures in which he portrayed the part of a concert violinist. This music has become a living symbol of his great artistry. The musical love story, Intermezzo. You know, I was just thinking what it must have been like in the days of the Roaring 20s when they had those old-fashioned sounding pianos that people used to play with their feet. I like to try and see if I can make myself sound like one of those old-timers, only I'm going to do it with my hands, okay?
Pushing on the pedal, singing sweet harmony. I want to hear it again, the rink-a-dee-ting. We cuddle closer at sea. We kiss, a kiss, a kiss, a kiss away all our cares. The player piano plays a galore razzmatazz. I want to hear it again, I gotta hear it again. The old piano roll blues. I've ever heard when you play the ragtime jazz. It makes me wanna cuddle, I wanna honey puddle, I wanna say skitty boo and razzmatazz. Instead of love and roll, piano roll, I get a funny feeling down in my soul. So keep on singing, baby, while I keep palpitating. The old piano roll, good old piano roll, that old piano roll blue.
I was a little boy, about 7 years old. I was greatly inspired by a visit from the famous Polish pianist Paderewski, who was a friend of my mother's. He came to our home and played for us, and he asked me to play for him. And he greatly encouraged my parents to let me follow music for my livelihood. And also, he was the one who suggested that I adapt the use of my one name, Liberace. I shall never forget the number I played for him because it was his own composition. Paderewski's Minuet. There you have an example of a musical composition that was written by a great musician that later turned statesman and became the premier of Poland. That beautiful music you hear in the background is the music of Beethoven. And you can almost sense, hearing that music, that here was a man whose life was very sad and lonely. He knew so little happiness, and he poured his heart and soul into his music. It is said, however, at one time he was silently in love with one of his pupils, a beautiful Italian countess. And the only way he knew to show his love was through his music, and he wrote a composition and dedicated it to her. When she heard this music, she saw beyond his outside unattractiveness and into the tenderness and love that he felt for her in his heart. And she returned that love. But then again, sadness invaded the life of Beethoven, and he retired into a solitary existence, realizing that he was losing his hearing and that it would be unfair to subject this great beauty to the beastliness of total deafness that was sure to come. The composition that spoke his love so eloquently to the Italian countess that he loved was the Moonlight Sonata. like to do a number by a Polish composer now. His name is Schubert, and he wrote a very delightful little dance called the Polish National Dance, and it's the kind of music they play at Polish weddings. And the reason I seem to know about this sort of thing is because I'm half Polish. I have a Polish mother, and that's why I know about it. Incidentally, George, will you tell your musicians if they play the accompaniment real nice that the next time I get an offer for a Polish wedding, they can come along, okay? It doesn't pay much money, but all you can eat and drink. They're wonderful. Been fascinated by this folk song here because it comes from the people, and every generation has added some little variation to this song, and I would like to add a few variations of my own right now to that wonderful folk song, Ochi, Chernye, Dark Eyes. You know, I've always loved rhythm and music. I think way back when I was even a little boy, I kind of hoped that someday my father and my mother would let me try out some of the popular tunes besides the classical music that they always wanted me to play, you know. And after I graduated from high school, without my parents knowing it, I sneaked off to Chicago because I knew there was a dance band at the Edgewater Beach Hotel that was looking for a new pianist. So I tried out for the job, and I hadn't any experience with the dance band up to that point, and I guess the band leader knew that, and he told me I should come back later after I'd had some experience because he was looking for a rhythm pianist, and I played more of the solo things, you know. So I was very disappointed, and I walked down Michigan Boulevard in Chicago, and all of a sudden my eyes met the outside of this very impressive-looking building. It was Orchestra Hall, and from the billboards I noticed that the Chicago Symphony Orchestra season was now in progress, and I heard the sounds of the music drifting out onto the street, and I realized that they were having a rehearsal. So I went in very quietly, and I listened to the orchestra play, and it wasn't long before I was discovered. And the only way I could get out of it was to tell Dr. Stock that I was there to audition for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So, much to my surprise and great happiness, he chose me to play with the orchestra at a later date. And just to sort of make a long story a little bit longer, the band leader that turned me down came to my concert, and after the concert he offered me the job with the dance band too, and I took it. But right now I'd like to play the number by Franz Liszt that I played with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. It's Franz Liszt Concerto in A major. as you probably know, we've been on a concert tour all over the United States, and it was so thrilling and exciting. We had so much fun. We thought it would be kind of nice to live it all over again, only this time we want you to come along with us. And I think we're just about ready to go on board, aren't we, George? You got the singing conductors all ready? Okay, let's go.
On the railroad to pass the time away. Can't you hear the whistle blow with rise up so early in the morning? Can't you hear the captain shout to time to blow your horn? Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, strumming on the old banjo. Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn?
Gentlemen. Our travels took us to Louisville, Kentucky, where we met a lot of wonderful Southern people, and the governor of Kentucky bestowed a wonderful honor on me. He made me a full-fledged Kentucky colonel. So from now on, it's Colonel Liberace. And to show my appreciation to all those nice people down in Louisville, I would like to play a beautiful song of Stephen Foster that he dedicated to that fine state, my old Kentucky home. Ladies and gentlemen, the memory I will always cherish of this concert tour was our first appearance at Carnegie Hall in New York City. It was kind of a lifelong dream come true. And I'd like to share a few moments of that dream all over again with you. I'm playing for you now Beethoven's first movement of the D minor sonata. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we had quite a trip. We played in 19 cities in 24 days. So as you can see, we kept quite a fast pace. And here's a little polka by Johann Strauss that kind of expresses that pace we kept on this tour. It goes like this. Hey, wait for me. Don't go without me.